Agree. It's like
What,
we
do,
didn't
what, do-
learn
what
from
does
the
the
drug war.
cartel do without drug money? What do they do? They got prostitution schemes going or something? What do they got?
Human trafficking, but
bro,
no, it's the drugs, bro.
No. The thing is, it's about resisting evil, right? We know we can't put it completely out. We can't put the fire out completely. Evil is gonna persist until Messiah comes back. But you can't just sit idle and legalize all drugs, legalize prostitution, legalize all debauchery, because if we don't, I mean, either we're damned if we do or we're damned if we don't. Is what I meant to say. So
Don't try to bring this to the Bible. It ain't about that.
No, I'm not.
It's already
It's
legal.
about the Bible, right? It's about reason, right? Logic. He's saying let's legalize all drugs because they're gonna profit off of it if we try to prohibit it, like the prohibition on alcohol. That's the type of reasoning.
That's kind of a straw man. And plus, the alcohol thing was about it being fuel. It was not about it being an addictive thing. No, my point is in legalizing drugs is that people need to make their own decisions. The people are going to go out and get their drugs regardless of what the law is. They're going to find a way. If you legalize it and like give them methadone at a clinic, at least the clinic is there to help them if anything goes wrong, and hopefully give them less and less and less until they're no longer addicted. Like,
the hidden argument in this legalizing of drugs and everything, it actually rests in that like all the plants that are being hidden from us become available, and therefore you don't need to synthesize them and buy them off some sketchy guy off the street. So like it's a completely different conversation once you stop straw manning like the real circumstance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd like to get in just for a second. So for me, as someone who doesn't want people on like synthetic drugs, if we make, like he said, everything like accessible, all the synthetic stuff is going to disappear because nature creates plenty of good drugs all on its own. Like you could just, So what
it gets rid of big pharma. That's literally what you have to do. Is controlling it is what made big pharma.
Let me get in just for a second, though. I'll be quick and concise, like always, I promise. So what I'm saying is people that are like for the drug war, you don't wage war on drugs, right? You're waging war on people. And if you want to wage war on drugs, you're basically saying you're pro 13th Amendment slaves. You're all for taking people's rights away because they chose to expand their consciousness. And I can't stand behind that at all. 13th Amendment has an exception to slavery. It's right there, written in the words, and I'm not pro-slavery, so I'm against it, obviously.
Are you pro indentured servitude?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to contract into slavery, yeah, that's one of the principles of libertarianism, is you can, do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting someone.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, in this context, I got a call, but I agree.
Here was my point, though. If you have 100,000 or 300,000 square foot building, I don't know how big prisons are, a 500,000 square foot building, and you can't keep drugs out of it, you're not going to be able to keep jack shit out of the whole country. It's this footprint's too big. So many ways to get in. Like you can't do it.
Well, God couldn't even prohibit the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? He's all-knowing creator.
You're speaking in absolutes. Like I said, it's not about getting rid of absolutely all drugs. It's about resisting the influx of drugs. Anybody that says that we shouldn't do that, bro, you've deluded yourself and you're buying into the propaganda that the Democrats have been saying that we should legalize all drugs and we should legalize prostitution and porn, OnlyFans and needles.
Let's just chill.
Come on, bro.
Let's just chill. Jeremy, do you know what fallacy you're using?
I don't know, but if Trump's here's the thing though. If Trump right now I can go buy cocaine. If Trump cracks down on the border and starts arresting cartel leaders, guess what? I'm still going to be able to go buy cocaine.
Okay, Jeremy, do you know what fallacy you're using?
The buying cocaine fallacy? I don't know which one.
Come on, you can do it, man. What fallacy are you using?
Peel the possibilities?
No, all or nothing, man. All or nothing. The fallacy we were talking about earlier. Like, either you just, since you can't get all the drugs, either you just let all the drugs come in or you have to be able to stop them all.
Well, I'm for legalizing them like they've already done in Oklahoma or a couple states. Like, I'm just legalizing them.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
buy my weed.
You see my point, then?
Yeah, I'd much rather buy my weed at a place where at least I know that it's not some guy that bought a pound of CBD and sprayed it with fentanyl. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
I agree with that. Yeah, like I don't agree with the idea though of like first of all legalizing all drugs. I don't know. Like I think there's a pretty strong amount of evidence that once you legalize it, that the amount of drug usage actually declines. So I don't know, but I think it should be strictly prohibited to do drugs in public where children are. Strictly prohibited.
I think that's
So
fair.
Yeah, I can get behind that, dude.
the libertarian idea falls apart pretty quick. Like the idea of like anarchy without any rule or like pure libertarianism, you just would lose order. Because like if people can
Do
just
you,
do whatever they want, well then you have to say unless it harms other people. Okay, well doing drugs out in public where children are harms children, right?
Well,
In
but
Yeah, I
many
mean we
different
already
ways,
have
even
that.
just psychological.
the key
now,
We already
principle of
have that for
libertarianism
drinking.
is
That's already a thing for drinking. And they're going to start probably cracking down soon on the smoking weed outside thing. Because yeah, I don't want to be walking my kids down the street and
Yeah.
some guy smoking a friggin' Godfather blunt. But that already exists. We already know that you
In
can't be out drunk in the public.
some places that exist, some places it doesn't. Like in Vegas, you can walk around with drinks, but like Vegas is obviously just a terrible example of everything. But I will say that was like my main contention with the thing in Florida, right? Because like weed was just up for vote in Florida, and the reason that I wasn't for it, although I used to smoke weed and I smoked weed like my whole life, and was always like the guy that was like, "How is this illegal? It's not a drug," and blah blah blah. But I find myself here in my 30s with children where I'm like, I don't think I would even vote yes. And but my contention with it is doing it in public. Like if I can't take my 2-year old to the beach because some loser wants to sit outside and just smoke like Kush, like I think that's lame. Or there should be like congregated areas that you have to smoke the weed or something, right?
did you hear my argument, or were you in the call? Because there's
They
some
got to just
context
make it. They
behind
got to
this.
just make it like drinking outside. Like you can't just get drunk out. You can't be drunk in public. There's a lot of yeah, maybe Vegas is one, but for the most part, they can arrest you for public intoxication, and you can't be drinking outside. So you can't be
That's fair.
high. You know what I'm saying? All they need to do is make some laws like that, and it's good. You can bring your kids outside now,
I
and
agree.
everyone can go smoke their weed at home if they want.
Weed is legal here in Oregon, and it is illegal to smoke it outside.
I
Yeah,
want to say
just not
something real
everywhere.
fast.
And you still smell
So
weed all the time when you walk around in Oregon, just like you smell weed all the time when you walk around New York City. And
I need 10 seconds.
I went to Portland, and it was like, oh my god, this is the worst place in existence. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's cool. Yeah. So the argument that I was
Nothing
making,
enforced.
uh, the argument I was making was, yeah, people argue about whether drugs should be legal or not. I think the conversation moves very quickly to what the real situation would be if they just made everything legal. It would open up the plant market, which would completely replace the synthetic drug market and take down big pharma. And suddenly people would just be open to plant medicine. And that would be the real situation, not this other thing that people think that
Yeah.
legalizing drugs is.
right,
Yeah, but I will say there's
nutraceuticals
another.
is-
Sorry.
Can I just get in quick? I'll be super quick. Nutraceuticals is the key, right? Because the side effects are a lot less worse, right? If you're treating somebody with PTSD, right, from the psychological point of view, like they're going to give you all kinds of crazy drugs that are going to make you suicidal. But if you have like a magic mushroom experience like once or twice a year, I mean, you're less likely to, have that problem, or marijuana to treat your PTSD. So my point is that in the libertarian point of view, the point is to educate yourself and the populace properly. That way you're self-governing, and if you're properly educated, you're not going to be smoking a bong next to a family of children. Right? You're going to obviously know that, hey, I'm going to need a little bit of seclusion. I'm going to walk down here the less traveled path, smoke my weed down here, then come back to where everybody is and enjoy myself after you get good
Oh,
and
you
stuff.
say that, but I travel the United States, and pretty much every city that has recreational marijuana legalized, you smell Kush 24/7. You can't walk around outside without being inundated with weed smoke. But
Well,
it's
the
whatever.
public
I mean,
intoxication, I can get behind.
I
I can
mean, bro,
say,
my
okay, fine.
neighborhood's not like that
No
at all.
public.
You know what I'm saying? You go walk around my neighborhood right now and not smell any weed. I mean, I'm sure
I'm
there are certain parts like that. However, it's going to smell anyways. Even if I'm in my house and the windows are open, you're going to smell it.
I'm in
I'm fine.
Colorado.
I'm
Only time
fine
I
with
smell
getting rid
weed
of
is in
public
people's house.
intoxication, but I think that all of the stuff should be someone's choice, and that brings back the plant market. Like public and talks, fine, get rid of that. That's not security for families. That's not yeah, like people need to take their business somewhere else, right? Not in public. But the plant market should be opened up. It would take down big
Sure.
pharma.
Well, that's why
Like
it's
if you
dude. That's why weed has been illegal this whole time. Like, it doesn't everyone know that? Like, obviously, it's a huge threat to synthetic big pharma. But like, we all agree there's also a difference in, say, like, okay, let's allow people to smoke weed, and let's just say you can't do it out in public around other people, but you can in the privacy of your own home, whatever. Or even if you were to say, oh, let's argue about whether or not you should legalize other drugs, like allowing tons of fentanyl, for example, to flood over our border from another country is completely unacceptable. So that's what I think.
Well,
I think
how about
that
we
is
make
actually
synthetics
completely
illegal then? Get rid of all the synthetics too. I'm fine with that.
Even the
Have the
natural
plants,
opium,
not the synthetics.
but pure opium, right? Unadulterated opium, morphine, medical grade, is still highly addictive and detrimental to your neuropsychology, your brain, your everything, dude. And then having that easily accessible, and then having like the social norm where like, oh, it's not socially acceptable because it's legal. That's
Well,
going
those
to create a
people are going to
problem.
find that anyway.
All it takes is one generation, and you'll
Sugar
see
does the
that you
same
might not
thing,
see
bro.
it right. Like Portugal legalized drugs in 2001, bro, and
He's breaking up.
yeah, give it some time, because now 20 years later, it's not looking so good. I'm saying 20 years later, it's not looking so good in Portugal.
It doesn't really matter though.
Or in California.
Any drugs you can buy right now, if Trump goes and cracks down and squeezes the shit out of them, I'm still going to be able to buy those drugs afterward.
Right.
Yeah, but that
So-
doesn't matter. That, like, dude, bro, that's what I was saying to you. It's kind of an all or nothing, an implied all or nothing there. Like, just because you're not going to be able to have 100% success rate doesn't somehow justify like a complete removal of any effort to deter it, right? Like, yeah, murder is illegal, but people still murder people, and no matter what you do, people are going to murder people. And if you ban guns, they're going to murder people with knives, and if you ban knives, they're going to murder people with baseball bats. But that doesn't mean we should just not have murder be illegal, right? Like, obviously, if murder was legal, then way more people would probably do it, because they're like, well, there are no consequences to doing it. So even though people will always find a way to murder someone, that doesn't really mean that we should like allow it. Like, those are different things.
Yeah, I don't know. Those some of those states like Colorado and shit, when they first came out and they legalized marijuana, their opioid use dropped drastically.
Well, I think it's
in a lot of
irresponsible to
those states.
conflate like marijuana with other drugs, right? They are definitely different in marijuana, although I don't smoke now and don't even necessarily suggest it, or certainly not smoking a lot. And I do think it has some detrimental effects. Like, it's not the same as like drugs, certainly like synthetic drugs, right? Like, I mean, it's just not. And normally people will say this, right? They'll be like, marijuana, will call it a drug. You're like, did you just call cannabis a drug? Marijuana's not a drug. And they're like, yeah, it is. Technically, coffee's a drug. Well, we don't call coffee a drug, though, in everyday, So it's kind of a disingenuous back and forth, usually on the end of the people that are calling marijuana a drug. But realistically, it does, like, it's a neurointoxicant, gets you high. Well, so is coffee. It kind of changes your state of mind. There are a few different things. Marijuana and cannabis and hemp shouldn't be illegal, in my opinion. It should be like the use of it to get high in public should be illegal. But dude, you guys know the history, right, bro? Like, it just hemp is a huge competitor for many things, like fuel,
Dude, if you look at
and clothing,
big oil,
textiles. Yeah, exactly. That's why they banned it.
Yeah,
Well,
if
hey,
you
let me
look
get in real
at the
quick.
amount of people, of the amount of money that's got spent lobby to keep it illegal. One of them was big pharma, another one was big alcohol, prison guard unions, private prison owners, and I always forget the fifth one. But if you just look at the list of people who spent money to lobby to keep it illegal, that should tell you something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick, I just wanted to say for coca, like cocaine, but the coca plant, they use it for altitude sickness and to get off of cocaine. And then you have this stuff called kratom, which is like hits the same opioid receptors. And like they illegalized kratom in, I think it was Thailand, because it was cutting into their opium sales. And so, like, I mean, I just think that there needs to be I don't know, more understanding. Like, they're tools, just like anything else. They can be misused. You know, you can cut your finger with a knife, or you can make a salad. You know, it's like,
Sure.
Yeah, kratom is completely legal in the U.S. though, like except for like Idaho, and I occasionally
right,
take
yeah.
kratom. Like if like when my shoulder hurts, I will take some kratom, like because it makes my shoulder stop hurting. Kratom is not even it's not even in the ballpark of drugs though, like in my opinion, right? Like back in the
Oh,
day I've
bro, you
taken
can get
hydros.
so screwed up on that stuff. You got to be careful if you take too much. But
I
like, no, it
Well,
is though. Like, it's
I've
just
taken too
different,
much.
you know.
I just want to point
I've
out to
taken too
people
much.
who don't
Everything in
wage
here was
war.
just saying that weed shouldn't be legal because you don't want your children to smell it at the beach. Going by that logic, should cigarettes and tobacco be made illegal?
Yeah,
Well, first of all, I didn't
and if you
say
can't,
that. I didn't say weed shouldn't be made legal because you can smell it. That's not what I said. What I said is that you shouldn't be allowed to just smoke the weed wherever you want to in public because there are children. Like it's so irresponsible and selfish for an adult to think they should just be able to go anywhere and everywhere in public where children and families want to
I
go,
get that. I
which
agree
is
with
the
that. I agree with that. I'm
actual.
just
Well,
wondering, do
that was
you
my only
think?
point.
No, I agree with that. But I'm just wondering, like, the same level of restrictions and divisions, and areas that you designate for that. Do you think those areas should be divided up with cigarettes the same way?
Yes, yes.
yeah.
I think you should not be able to smoke cigarettes anywhere and everywhere either. And it pisses me off when I'm going into the grocery store with my daughter and someone's smoking cigarettes and that she's like inhaling secondhand cigarette smoke. I think, and then people are so like they just don't care at all that there's like or when I have my 6-month-old baby, you're just like standing beside her smoking a cigarette. Like, what is wrong with you? Yeah, it pisses me off. I don't think you should be able to smoke cigarettes where there are family and children either. Yeah, like I'm that
Yeah,
guy. I don't think you should do
there's
that.
honestly a few people that are gonna fuck this up for the rest of us that are retarded and don't know to not smoke next to kids. Because I'd like to be able to smoke in public because I'm not retarded and I won't go smoke near kids. In fact, if there was kids coming, I'd go the other way. You know what I'm
Or there should
saying?
be
And there's just
designated
some idiots.
areas, right?
There's just
So
some
I don't
idiots
even
walking
smoke.
around. There's just some idiots walking around that just don't give a fuck, and they're gonna end up making all these laws to where now we can't smoke. Now I can't smoke in public at all, even though I'm not an idiot.
So I don't even
No,
smoke
not
Yeah.
weed
at all.
anymore.
In
Hold
Norway,
on,
it is
real
illegal
fast.
to smoke indoors, and people just have common sense and know that you shouldn't smoke next to a child because when they introduced these laws, people came together and realized that this is not something we should be doing. But that came also with that the big lawsuits. Was it in the 90s? Um, and we just put restrictions to all
Secondhand
of that.
smoke.
Yeah, I just
Yo, real
want
quick, I just want to get in. In Massachusetts, in Boston, there's a place called Methadone Mile
to. I got
where they
next.
allow addicts to go and actually inject heroin, clean heroin with clean needles. And just like in San Francisco, they use Portugal as an example. All the Democrats, oh, look at Portugal, look how good Portugal's doing. Let's do the same thing. And they did that, and now you have needles everywhere. It's an epidemic in both Boston and San Francisco. So there's
Missing there.
variables that don't manifest till
There's a
down the
detail
line.
you're missing. The
Go ahead.
detail you're missing is that they used to have a needle exchange where you had to fill up with dirty needles in order to get clean needles, but
Yo,
then they
your
got
mic
rid of
is
that needle
rough, dude.
exchange, and now you can just get a whole bunch of clean needles, and you don't have to show up with dirty needles. That's why there's needles everywhere.
Yeah,
Your
country.
mic's a little rough, man.
I just want to get in real fast. Promise it'll be super quick. So the whole thing about coffee used to be illegal. They used to like sew people in like a cow skin and throw them in the middle of the ocean and lob their knob off for drinking coffee. Like today, I don't see it any different. Like all these people that think that they're not like the Nazis, yet they were like masked Nazis, like during the whole whats. I think that a lot of people don't realize that they got that little Nazi in them, and it's part of their personality. Like, I don't smoke weed. I don't think people should smoke weed unless they got like some sort of medical problem, like PTSD or something. But that's just my opinion. But that doesn't mean that like I want to enforce use the state to force my opinion. That's what I think is like immoral. Like you're acting like a little Nazi if you're like, yeah, if this guy's like smoking at the beach and I just happen to walk into the wind as it changes direction. Like I want to throw that guy in a cage and put a boot on his neck. And if he resists, well, he should, be put to death if he resists to the death. Like I don't know. I
This
think
is
that's
just not you, bro. You just totally took what I said and strawman to the most
no. I
egregious
wasn't talking
degree.
about
I got
your argument. I was talking about people in general. If it doesn't apply, let it fly.
well, it clearly was. It clearly was aimed at what I said and implied that I have like this Nazi in me and don't recognize it
No, no,
because
no.
that's direct. It's directly responding to the point I made. But like,
It's not about
it,
you. It's about the concept of people wanting to use the force of the state. I know that you don't want the boot on my neck if I smoke weed at the beach.
but can you understand kind of the idea though that you wouldn't want like children to be around it?
Of course, yeah. That's
Of
what I said
course.
earlier about libertarianism. You educate yourself to know that other people who don't smoke probably don't want to smell it. So you would walk down the beach like a mile down the road
Yeah,
if you had
Yeah.
to.
but we're
Well, yeah,
fucking
maybe.
we're fucking stupid though. Like people won't do that. I know to do that. Many people in here probably know to do that, but there's people out there, young kids, they're 18, they don't give a fuck. They're just out there smoking weed everywhere.
Well, get you some vinegar and a water gun, a super soaker, and if they get too close to you, be like, "Do you like that smell? Does that smell good? Well, I don't like how you smell, bro. Get away from me."
Can I can I pop in real quick? I just think it's really the notion of telling another adult what to do with their body, what to ingest, etc., and then using the state or the authorities to basically decide, hey, this person can't ingest or do whatever they want to their body, and I just think that's wrong. I think we're all
It is
adults, and
wrong.
everyone should be able to have their own choices and their own decisions, and there should be
Privacy
consequences
your own
for those
home.
choices.
Yeah, especially as long as you're in your own home and you're not in public. That's absolutely true.
So that's what I'm
You
saying.
said there should be or
Let the-
shouldn't be consequences. No, I said there's consequences for those choices, right? Like personal consequences. If I decide to do heroin for 2 years straight, that's my own personal choice, and I have to deal with those consequences, right? No one else has to deal with those consequences. As soon as it affects another person, that's when you can get involved, right? When you're affecting other people's free. I'm sorry,
Can I finish?
Dude. Yeah. When you're affecting other people's choices and you're actually affecting other people around you, then that's when it's a problem. But when it comes to your own personal life and your own personal choices, like that should be nobody's business.
So Witsit already addressed this, right? And this is the concept this is why libertarianism doesn't work, because it's all based on a false premise, right? About harm and what harm means. I suggest you go look up the definition of harm, and harm just to inflict physical damage on. That's not what harm isn't exclusive, right? You can harm somebody indirectly by becoming an addict. Your family, your neighbors, your town, your neighborhood. Eventually, it spreads like a disease, like a cancer, and that's what happens in with drugs. So this idea that as long but I'm just harming myself, it's a false premise. Go ahead.
Harm, Britannica, physical or mental damage or injury, something that causes someone to be hurt, broken, made less valuable, or successful. So yeah, you don't want marijuana around the children, right? Obviously, that's a personal choice for you as a marijuana smoker. You shouldn't be smogging out children, obviously, right? Because that would be harm if they don't choose to have that in their body, especially if the parents who are actually the ones contracting for the children don't want that in their body. So yeah, I could see how that could be harm. But if I walk like 500 yards away from everybody else, and I'm closer to the dangerous part of the beach where there's rocks and caves and smoking, like I don't see how anybody could say, "Oh, that guy's causing harm. I'm a victim."
Yeah, so
Well,
I just
talk
Googled
about
it.
that.
I just Googled it. There's 360,000 people in prison right now for drugs. That's like a percent
That's
of
harm.
the U.S.
That's
That's like
harm,
that's a whole percent of the U.S. You get rid of that. That costs a shit ton of money. I don't even know how much money that costs to keep someone in prison, but that's got to be a ton of money. It's got to be billions, if not
lot.
trillions.
$18 a day per person.
That's it. Anyways, that's not the point.
Like
The point is you keep now you get to keep
Smoking around kids then.
Hold on, don't. There, go ahead, Jeremy.
you get rid of that. You get to keep all that money now. We don't have to spend all the money on just imprisoning these people, and you tax the drugs that do come in. So now you're getting even more money, and maybe you could do something to help fix the problem with it instead of just the continuous cycle we've been in of just imprisoning these people. You know what I'm saying? Fix the problem. Use all that money.
Well, I think the problem is why people choose to do drugs in the first place.
Real quick.
It's a
Hold on. So
Why does everyone keep
point
interrupting? Why do people keep hearing
yeah,
someone make a point and then just intentionally go right through the middle of them? That's happened like 10 times in a row. It's wild.
Hold your horses, guys. Benji, were you up? I think Benji was up. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, you can go, Benji. Go ahead, bro.
I was going to say, to what Jeremy was saying, the average cost to house an inmate is between $23,000 and $300,000 a year
That's a
per
big
inmate.
swing. 23,000 to 300,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like places like New York, it averages 60,000, but it go up to 300,000. Places like Texas, it's more like 25. Just depends on the state and how corrupt it is.
That's what I'm saying. So you get 360,000 people, multiply that out, see how much we're spending here on that, then take how much money we collect off the taxes, and
I think
you
he's
know
trying to get in
how
next,
much
Jeremy.
money What's up?
Sorry.
Yeah,
I
he's
can go next.
trying to get in, and he had a really good point. I want to hear what he had to say.
That's right. Well, that's also important to the cost and everything, but really, it's a cultural issue and a spiritual issue. At the core of why people choose to do drugs in the first place, right? They want to escape. They don't like the way reality is hurting them at the moment, so they need to find an escape or relief. I think really it comes down to a support system, right? Like if you're surrounded by friends.
That's helping somebody that's helping somebody already having a drug problem. But what you were originally focusing on was the underlying cause of drug addiction that leads somebody to drug addiction.
I mean, I want to finish the thought, though.
Let him finish his point, whether or not you think he's going where you thought he was going to go.
I was just going to say, for people that have a support system, they have a family, right? They have a strong family structure, right? People that have...
You're a base dissociated, supposedly.
Okay, am I going to be able to finish?
Okay,
hold
dude.
On,
guys. I'm going to stop you. You know what it is? There's a lot of
people
people trying to talk, bro, and we're going to have to make a line. Yeah, let people finish.
No, you know what?
I'm guilty of it too. I'm sorry, dude. Go ahead.
I'm going to fall back. I'm about to head to the gym anyway. I'm just going to listen.
All right.